Hello everybody, today I have a very special area light to share with all of you. This is a GE 100 watt Deluxe Mercury Vapor area light. Now what makes this light so special is how I acquired it. Many years ago, in between the school years, I would go and visit my grandmother over the summer and help her around her property, and we would go and tour the countryside of Wisconsin, visiting many different stores, restaurants, and some of her old friends. Of course, we would stop at restores when we would find them, and that is exactly where this light came from, alongside another McGraw-Edison traditional style area light. These two area lights, this one right here and that other one, came from one of those restores, and my grandmother got these for me. It was very generous of her to get these for me for helping her around her property and doing just different things, well, to help her out over the summer. So that's where the history of this light comes from, is just the fact that she got this for me and she's no longer with us. If you check out my secondary channel, Merkove, you'll find some videos on there of my grandmother and her property and just her random day of events as it would unfold. So there's definitely some history there, and with this very special light. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and finally take this thing out of its box and enjoy it. I think I've only turned this light on once, and that was to test it after I acquired it. I don't believe I actually ever did a video of this thing at all, or even turning it on. I may have, but here it is again, if you know, I haven't. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this box. On the top of it here, as we can see, it says Mercury Vapor Security Light, GE Security Light. This was $25 at the Restore. Not too bad for a brand new in box fixture like this. And as you can see, we have the ordering tag here. So this is the DMVS 100 Deluxe Mercury Vapor Security Light. There's one in the box naturally, but as you can see, this is a piece of paper. It's a sticker of some sort. Well, it's not so much of a sticker anymore, obviously. Underneath it, however, you can find the ordering information for the less deluxe version, the 175 watt version of this fixture. Obviously, 175 watt Mercury Vapor Security Light. So that was the unfinished version, and this is the deluxe version. Taking a look at the front of the packaging here, we see, if we zoom out a little bit so you can get a bit of a better angle here, Deluxe Mercury Vapor Security Light. This was originally sold at Menards for about $30 back in the day, so that's pretty cool. That's obviously its original location of sale. So, as we can see here, we have a bronze finished fixture. The 175 watt version that we see underneath this tag here would have just had the aluminum finish. There would have been no paint on the fixture itself. Of course, it has deluxe color. That's where the bulb comes into play. It's 100 watt. So yes, it's a little bit dimmer than 175 watt, but it comes with a deluxe white bulb. Now, I never really understood how they thought that this was a little bit more deluxe. It's 100 watts, not 175 watts, so it's a little bit dimmer in the lumen department, but you do get a deluxe white bulb, where this would have been a clear bulb, and it wouldn't have been a painted fixture. I guess the painting of the fixture, that would make it deluxe, but you get a trade-off for the size of ballast inside. I wonder how many of these sold versus the standard 175 watt versions. I'm sure the 175 watt versions would have been cheaper than $30, however. Okay, of course we have a photocell on it. I don't remember if it's on the arm here or what. Of course, uses household current 120 volt. Comes with a Mercury Vapor bulb. It's 100 watt. Love the front packaging here. Now, I would assume, based on the fact that this is printed on the fixture, or the box, just like all this is up here, it doesn't say deluxe or anything. Underneath this sticker must be the original information for the 175 watt version as well. But this sticker is very much intact, and it doesn't really seem to be coming off in any way that wouldn't destroy it. So we're going to leave it on there, but I'm sure the original stuff is underneath. On the side of the box here, we'll find something that we just don't see anymore. Pictures and illustrations. We can see many different examples of where you could use this fixture. By your pool, because everybody still has pools in their backyard, you know, unless you have lots of money. You can have it on your garage. That makes sense. You can have it to play sports. You know, you got to have that mercury vapor light so that you can make that basket. That's pretty important. Or you could have it in your backyard so you can grill up your burgers under some mercury vapor light, you know, because that has all the color rendering so you know when it's done. Anyway, you can position it at different heights and get different radiuses of light distribution. They kind of show that here. We also see that there was another option, a 70-watt high-pressure sodium version. That must have had a totally different printed box, because this says mercury vapor printed on it, unless they had a sticker to go over that as well. Of course, it says mercury vapor here, too. But yeah, love these old illustrations. Just something that doesn't happen anymore. On the back of the box, we get some more information about this wonderful fixture and a little bit of insight inside of it. So, again, this illustration here is for the 175-watt version, so it has a massive bulb inside of it. But I think it looks kind of funny, because look at how big this bulb is versus the fixture. A cool thing to note here is, as you can see, it has an angled socket. Now, some of the early McGraw-Edison, Handyman, Regent area lights had a socket at an angle pointing this way. And GE did the opposite. They pointed it out this way, which is what I believe Electropack, American Electric did with their high-pressure sodium versions of similar-looking lights. Now, this is all metal, aluminum, as I stated originally. But some of those other competitors used a plastic or polycarbonate housing. So again, very cool to see an illustration here on the back of the fixture itself and all the components that come with it. And we see some comparisons here to other options. 350-watt floodlights. They love comparing stuff to that, which you don't really see a 3 lamp fitter for par 38 bulbs too often. I've made one for my parents. It works great for where it is, but you just don't see that sold all in one. You know, you see dual lamp par 38 fixtures, but not an all in one. You know, with all three in the package. A 300-watt quartz halogen. They don't have a 500-watt here. Maybe that wasn't super popular yet. Of course, the 175-watt mercury, the 100-watt, and then the 70-watt high-pressure sodium. Makes sense. I mean, the high-pressure sodium is going to put out way more lumens than the 100-watt. But you usually saw 175-watt and 70-watt high-pressure sodium fixtures sold side by side towards the end of their lifespans, kind of comparing the two very closely to the same amount of lumens. But as you can see, it saves quite a bit of, you know, energy. You just don't get the cool mercury vapor color. You get high-pressure sodium. Nothing wrong with that, but I just love my mercury vapor color. So there's the back. And it looks like the other side here is the exact same thing as what we were just looking at, unless this is the same side we were just looking at. Nope, they have the same thing on both ends. So you can enjoy your light by your pool again while you bring in your groceries in your paper bag. You can bring your basketball into the hoop. You know, a miracle, a miracle. And of course, you can flip your burgers under some beautiful light. What kind of shoe is that? Anyway, there's not much else on the bottom here. So let's finally get into this box. I don't really remember what is all in here. 7913. I wonder what that even means. Okay, this is finally the insides. So we have a pretty generic instruction thing here because it shows the mercury vapor and high pressure sodium security light on the one piece of paper. So here's the top for outdoor use only. Oh, that's terrible. We're going to use it in the garage here. And you have ordering codes. I wondered how you'd order some of this stuff. Like, is there an address to order it from? Nice little instructions here on the back for mounting. Looks like it's exactly 5 inches, which is nice. I do like that. So you know. Yeah. Sorry about that. Someone rang the doorbell. Of course, we have our beautiful Mercury vapor bulb here in actual retail packaging. It's not just a, cardboard sleeve or anything. We get full retail packaging here. 100 watt deluxe white Mercury vapor. Beautiful. Love this packaging. Deserves to be displayed on its own. Oh, here we go. It tells you how to read the date of manufacture. That's pretty cool. Okay, there's our lamp. And we have our refractor here in very good shape. No cracks or anything, so it's held up well inside of this box all these years. Zoom out a little bit so you can get a better view there. Yeah, it's in really good shape. We have some foam here to protect it. Oh, we have some mounting hardware. Yeah, some little bolts. And then I believe that is to hold on the refractor so it doesn't come off. And then we have a little kind of reflector thing here for the photocell that you can add on to it. And of course we have our cardboard insert here. Set that aside. And here's our light itself. Look at that. That's a beautiful bronze finish. It doesn't really have any discrepancies in it, or defects, I should say. We do have GE's plastic socket going on here. I've seen these in some of their other NEMA head style fixtures, but this is the first one that I've actually had in this fixture here. So it does say General Electric inside of it there, way in the bottom. It's hard to read, but it does say General Electric. It's a pretty stiff plastic too. Of course, in the arm here is our ballast, and there's our photocell. So let's go ahead and see what is inside of here. It looks like we just have this one screw holding everything on. With our one screw removed, let's see what we get. There's our ballast. Oh, that's so tiny. Okay, that's awesome. I wonder how much more crammed this would have been with a 175 watt ballaster if they just would have made it thicker. I love the connectors here. I love that design. That's pretty cool. Photoelectric switch. Doesn't really have a brand on it, unless it's on the end there and we just can't see it. Let's see if we can take it out and see what brand of photocell we have. It does have a gasket on it here. Looks like that's like a sticker and it's supposed to come off. Let's see. Oh, okay. Area lighting research. Pretty standard affair for these area lights, really. So we'll put that back in there. Yeah, I don't know. This seems like it's something that's supposed to peel off. But I don't know. We'll just leave it on there. It just looks like it's a sticker or something. They just didn't peel it off. But you know, it's been so many years. If I peel it off, it'll probably... Oh yeah, it's a sticker. Huh. I wonder why they didn't do that originally. Maybe because it's a pain. So there's our photocell. Would have been cool if they had an actual photocell socket on it. But it is so simple in here. Literally our photocell, our ballast, and our socket. Now we will move our attention over to the ballast. We'll take it out and see what brand that is. We got the screws out for the ballast. So I'm going to try to pick it up here. Okay, we do have some information on it. General Electric. Doesn't really say anything else on it for wattage, really. Maybe that's just a catalog number or something. But that's it. There's no information on it for wattage or anything. I'm sure that references something, but there's our ballast. Definitely all the weight of the fixture here. Now, another thing to note is that these wires that are holding everything together here. Well, there's the ballast without the plug on it. It's literally a plug specifically made for this ballast. I had to take it off because I really just can't get this thing down in there with the wires on it. But just look at the gauge of these wires. They're tiny. Even the ones going to the socket are extra small. I wonder what gauge they are. I got the ballast back in there, and I took a look at these wires closer, and I really don't see anything on here that says gauge. Maybe it's just a style of wire. It is, but there's no good information here that says, you know, like, whatever. Maybe I'm just missing it. Anyway, really thin wire. The positive here is much thicker. Or maybe that's just the insulation they use on it. Either way, let's take our specialized plug here. Note how it has this little thing here so it stops you. Well, I guess it doesn't actually touch anything. Anyway, plugs right on. That's just so neat. I like that. Such a very simple design. I take the socket out, but those screws are kind of in there at a weird angle, and I haven't really had a good way to get them out doing it off camera, so we're just going to let the socket be. But we know it's a General Electric socket, a General Electric ballast, and a area lighting research photocell there. Of course, we have our wires coming out. We have a solid copper for our ground and our positive and our neutral here. Now, what I'm probably going to do, like I do with all these kinds of fixtures, is put a cord on it and zip tie it somehow inside so it just comes right out so you can mount it wherever you'd like. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a cord on this fixture. We'll find a home for it and we'll demonstrate it. There's our fixture all wired up. I did trim some of the wires here. We didn't need these as long. And I took out the ground, and instead I put the ground wire from the cord directly on the screw down there in the corner. So we don't need all that extra wire in here. It is still grounded, and that looks a lot better. So also, this ribbon style cord here fits through the provided slot perfectly. So I'm also very happy with that. Now, let's go ahead and get our cover back on here. Our metal cover. Oh, look, there is something underneath. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know if I've ever noticed that. That's the cleanest GE label sticker I've ever seen. Well, it's also brand new, so makes sense. But that's awesome. I wonder if there's a date code hidden on there somewhere. Not as cool as the street light ones, but awesome to see nonetheless. Okay, so that's cool. That was a nice little surprise. Let's set our cover back in here. Look at that. The cord fits perfectly. Like, no joke, perfectly. I had the screw. Now, where it went. Before we get it up somewhere, let's take a look at this assembly here for the refractor. I do notice a bit of a slot here, but I don't really see another one matching on the other side. So maybe that doesn't really have a home. Maybe it's just kind of there. Because I'm pretty sure this just kind of sits here. Like so. Underneath these two brackets on either side. And then, as far as I can tell, they just want you to open up your little goodie bag here and take this really big screw and just put it here. And by the looks of it, that's just supposed to help it from, yeah, it just doesn't slide out. So, I'm going to put that in without the refractor first because it's not a threaded hole, and we're going to have to thread it with the threads that they've given us. And if I slip, I don't want to break that. So, I'm going to go ahead and get this in here a couple times, make sure the threads are good. Okay, I put the screw in and out a couple times with the drill. So let's set our refractor back in place here. And instead of using the drill to put it in, again, just out of caution, we'll set our screw down here. And let's put it in manually. Well, now it's going in all slanted. Isn't that nice? Now it's not working out at all. Well, that kind of looks terrible, but we'll go with it. Okay, last but not least, we got to put our bulb in here. Our beautiful Deluxe white GE bulb. Mogul base. You can see the arc tube in there inside. The etch. Looks to have a silverized bottom part of the arc tube here. I don't believe that's the mercury, but I guess we'll find out once it dissipates. I know that Philips had gold tips on the ends of their 100 watt mercury vapor arc tubes. Okay, let's put our bulb in here. There we go. Boy, the bulb sits in there quite a ways. It's kind of up in this section. There's a decent gap of nothing. Now, out of curiosity, we're going to put a 175 watt bulb in here so we can see what that looks like. Here's a 175 watt GE. Now, the bulb that would have came with their 175 watt one would have been clear, I do believe. That almost fits a little nicer, to be honest. It does look funny with such a big bulb in there, but I kind of like that. It's just odd. Okay, so there's our 175 watt bulb. And our 100 watt bulb, so you can see there's definitely a size difference there. We got the fixture installed here in its new home. It's right across from the 80 watt electronically ballasted mercury vapor area light. So this is pretty cool. It fits here really well, actually, the two of them together. So let's get the camera set up on the tripod and get this thing turning on. Okay, let's turn the lights off. Let's turn it on in 3, 2, 1. Beautiful pink color. Let's get a reading. We're currently at 117.9 volts, 4.1 amps, 78 watts, and a power factor of 0.15. Beautiful color. I love the way that this deluxe white bulb is diffused so evenly in this refractor. It's weird, you can't see any of the bulb at the bottom there sticking out. Usually you can, but you know, the bulb is at an angle in there, so it's up a little higher. But I do love the light distribution and how it looks in that refractor. The ballast tum is also very nice. Maybe someday we'll have to do a comparison of this one versus the electronically ballasted 80 watt fixture next to it, since they're so nicely placed next to each other. As always, let's let it warm up. Okay, I do believe we have reached full brightness. Both the lux meter on the floor and the watt meter here have leveled out on their readings. Now you may have seen I reached into the camera area there and I had to put a little piece of tape on the photocell. I totally forgot to cover up the photocell before turning the fixture on, and I really didn't want it to turn off during its warm-up from its own light. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead, see how well it's lighting everything up, and what our meters have to say. We do have some light coming in through the window over there, but other than that, it is lighting everything up very nicely in its very centralized place here in the garage. So that works out really well. Let's go ahead and see what our lux meter is saying. It is located 8 feet away from the arc tube, and it looks like we're at about 117 lux at that distance. And of course, let's see what our meter has to say. So we're at 117.9 volts, 2.26 amps, 121 watts, and a power factor of 0.45. You can see the bulb in there. Now obviously the 175 watt version would have the same socket placement, but the bulb would be, a little bigger inside of the fixture than this, I believe, like ED23.5 shape or whatever. It's just so interesting not seeing anything stick out down here. I mean, this one's kind of the same, but with a lot of area lights, the bulb was just so big, it was right down to the bottom. But as you can see, it lights everything up really well. And there's our, where is it? It's somewhere over here. There should be a Lexolite logo on the refractor. Hopefully you can see it somewhere. Should be somewhere around there. But it really distributes the light very nicely in this refractor. It seems to have a lot more vertical lines than horizontal. You can see here in this design, there's a lot of horizontal lines. And we do have some of that here at the bottom. But to be honest with you, I think most of them, well, actually they're there. They're just a lot more of them, compared to these that are very spaced out. So it really, lets the light fill the entire refractor. Beautiful arc in there. Really nice, beautiful fixture. Goes really well here.
The spectrum of the bulb right after turn on. The spectrum of the bulb at full brightness. The CRI of the bulb right after turn on. The CRI of the bulb at full brightness. The white balance of the bulb right after turn on. And the white balance of the bulb at full brightness.
Okay, it's time for some cool down action, so here we go. Not much to see there, really.
As always, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, be sure to give it a like down below and leave a comment. I do enjoy reading all of your comments. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more great videos like this one. Also check out my secondary channel Mercury and subscribe over there for more behind the scenes and alternative content. Of course, check out the other videos here on this screen, and as always, thank you very much for watching.